Hello, angels. It's your darling critic Lavender here, once again to discuss something that I think a lot of people, particularly in the pop music community, are going to be talking about. It is September now, and for a lot of people, that means it is time to declare what the song of the summer was for 2024. Now, don't get me wrong, you can take an extremely personal approach to this debate, and there are hooks in me pulling in several different directions personally. Say, the music critic in me that would say something from the incredible new Vampire Weekend album is the song of the summer. I know that or the hot girl in me who's been singing the definitive non-Tinashe oriented sex jam of this year so far, Remy Wolf's Toro. Down the hall, you're a fool, and I can't help but saying Toro. Or the trans girl in me who has been bumping Underscore's My Guy basically non-stop since it dropped. So you wanna see my guy? And of course, the raver who had her mind blown when Disclosure popped up with their best song in shit, maybe ever. But the song of the summer debate as it exists culturally is more about appeal to popularity. It has to be something that is as near universal as possible. And to prove how you can fumble that tremendously, check the appeal to authority version of the Song of the Summer debate, Billboard, who dropped their Songs of the Summer chart. And while it does contain some of the tracks we're going to talk about today, what a whiff. Tell me you're not actually tapped in without telling me you're not actually tapped in, despite being the company that is supposed to track how popular everything is. Billboard declaring Morgan Wallen to have had the Song of the Summer in back-to-back years, despite the fact that there is a massive portion of their audience who, whether online or via the radio, have never heard a fucking Morgan Wallen song in their life, kind of shows how this debate can be hijacked by raw numbers. And I think another song that people would throw out, Shaboozie's A Bar Song, would be an equally miscalculated judgment for Song of the Summer. So all we're really here to do today is make the case for songs that I think were both popular, memeable, ubiquitous, and familiar enough across radio and social media and streaming services and just pop culture broadly that they could be the song of the summer while also being tapped into the culture enough to actually represent what the summer of 2024 meant. And to start, there's an answer to this question so obvious that people were calling this the song of the summer before the summer had even started. One of the biggest hits of the year, Sabrina Carpenter's Espresso, a song that, quite famously at this point, I didn't love when I first heard it, but I had a feeling it would grow on me, and it definitely has. There were several big hits this year in pop and even in some other genres that I dodged on summer playlists like the plague, but to be honest, Espresso kind of felt right for every situation. To tackle one of the biggest complaints about the song from critics, the lyrics are completely fucking meaningless. Basically gibberish, but you know, Sabrina has had luck writing nonsense in the past. But they're that brand of pop gibberish where you can tell that she wasn't really trying to be precise in the first place. And I don't know, it kind of struck a chord with me. This bubbliness, this lush silliness with Sabrina's clever undertones worked in here and there. I just never got tired of hearing Espresso all summer. And in addition, it is the biggest hit of the 4 songs that we're going to talk about, and probably the biggest pop music hit of the summer. So I understand why it's a pretty strong candidate. Plus, in my opinion, the album that followed did even more to strengthen the case for why Espresso is the song of the summer. She carried out yet another hit song in Please, 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 and now Taste has debuted at number 2. The charts the week that I'm recording this literally have Sabrina at 2, 3, and 4, and that's on the back of a huge commercial breakthrough album that just narrowly escaped Travis Scott to become the number 1 album in the country, and garner quite a bit of critical reception in the process. I think we could very easily look back on 2024 in a few years when Sabrina Carpenter becomes Billie Eilish or Ariana Grande caliber of famous and see this as the summer where she elevated from pop star to pop superstar. And through that lens, Espresso makes a ton of sense culturally as the song of the summer. And even though it's kind of obvious and a total layup, I'm not going to roll my eyes at anyone making that argument. But if the summery, bubbly youthfulness, maybe fringing on immaturity of Espresso didn't really match the vibe of your summer, I think I know what you were listening to, because summer has just as many nights as it does days. As somebody who's been dishing out critical praise to Tinashe for a few years now, God, it felt good to see her get some recognition this year. And you know what else felt good? Being early on Nasty. I've got the receipts. You read my best tracks of the week segment. Nasty was there the week it came out, where I was talking about how catchy it is, how hot and heavy it is, and even how great of a phrase Match My Freak is.
Is somebody gonna match my freak? Is somebody gonna match my freak?
And I think you could make the pretty compelling case that the lyric, "Is somebody gonna match my freak?" alone might be the single most mnemonic pop cultural instance of this entire summer. I've referenced it repeatedly while covering Tinashe in both written and TikTok form, and it even made its way into some completely unrelated work that I did for other publications and other reviews because, shit, it was the most memeable thing that happened this summer. I feel like I couldn't escape it. The one unfortunate thing about this is that everyone seems to be kind of let down by Quantum Baby, the album that followed this, and yeah, that's fair. I certainly don't like it nearly as much as Tinashe's previous two releases, but honestly, for the most part, I think many of the people who have heard and fallen in love with Nasty haven't even heard the full album in the first place. Maybe that speaks to the shallowness of the whole Song of the Summer debate in the first place, but honestly, I think the song is good enough that it kind of carries its weight on its own. It also just kind of seems like this is a torchbearer of sorts for what was admittedly a pretty horny summer. Billie Eilish couldn't release an entire new album of sad jams, so she had to slip in a song about eating pussy. Not to mention the defining 4 letters of the summer, which, trust me, we'll talk about in a little bit. Something that certainly doesn't shy away from horny ambitions.
Does it feel like heaven when it hurts so bad?
So yeah, not everyone listening to music is a 16-year-old teenage girl. We're adults. We fuck, we get horny, and when people got horny the summer of 2024, at least in my opinion, I think they were bumping Nasty. And that's a pretty good case for why this could be the song of the summer. Another one that I won't bat my eyes at. I guess we gotta talk about Brat.
You wanna guess the color of my underwear. You wanna know what I got going on down there.
In one sense, I am a little late to the party on the whole Brat thing after NATO posted it, and an interview today where Barack Obama once again doubled down on his bratness. We have completely lost the fucking thread with what it even means to be brat anymore. The 3 words Kamala is a brat may have ruined the chance that any song from this album could be the song of the summer, and yet it was the motif of the summer. This ugly ass fucking album cover was everywhere. Imagine telling someone at the start of 2024 that Fox News would go viral for their hosts discussing what a Charli XCX album title means through the lens of American politics. And yet, it kind of felt so hilariously, charmingly normal when it happened.
Do you really want brats to run this country? They already do enough damage.
And that's because Charli XCX's Brat has kind of been a sensation in an awesome way. I mean, people like me, music critics, have been saying for a decade, since fucking Boom Clap, that Charli XCX deserved more attention and more acclaim than she was getting. And you know what? I regret all of it. And here's why. I like Brat a lot. And I like what Brat means. It's deep by Charlie XCX standards. Songs from the record like So I, and I Think About It All the Time, and even in an underrated sense, Von Dutch, dive into details more layered than your average pop record. And yet, unleashing the word brat into the general public has been a nightmare. Which, in a sense, may be its own compelling reason to call this the Brat Summer in the first place, because Earth, and this is true, is a miserable place to be alive. And through the hijacking, morphing, and complete derailment beyond any meaning whatsoever of Brat as a signifier, as an identity, as an album, as a cultural movement, we have seen exactly how disastrous the mainstreaming of something can be. This is kind of like a worst case scenario. Not to sound dramatic, because at the end of the day, it's fucking pop music. Like, who cares? But there's also the years spent pouring out love and acclaim for Vroom Vroom and the self-titled and Pop 2 and How I'm Feeling Now and Brat itself. I wanted Charlie to have this success all along, and now that it's here, even she doesn't really seem happy with it. In my opinion, this is the weakest case of the four I'm going to make today, because there hasn't really been one song from Brat that has dominated the conversation. The biggest hit on the charts has been Guess, which was only a bonus track that wasn't even included on the original, and it's only the biggest hit because it pulled a Billie Eilish feature, except she really doesn't belong on the song. It sounds so awkward and stunted with her on it.
It's the lacy black pair with the little bows, the ones I picked out for you in Tokyo.
The other standout track seems to be Apple, the song which is taken off on TikTok, and yet ask any of the Charlie XCX fans who were digesting the record when it released, and this is kind of one of everyone's least favorite songs. It's one of the silliest and one of the most meaningless on the entire record. I was certainly pretty critical of it when I originally reviewed the album in Ringtone magazine, and while I'm not surprised to see it catch on as a TikTok trend, the fact that so many Charlie XCX fans see this as one of the most disposable and least representative things on the record seems to also kind of disqualify it from Song of the Summer consideration. That leaves us with a few great songs, several great songs actually, valuable and viable ones like Back to Back and Von Dutch, but they simply don't really have the appeal, the universality of some of the other tracks we'll talk about today. In a sense, I had to talk about Brat because I think this is almost undeniably the Brat summer in a way that we had, the hot girl summer of years past. Brat summer is how we will remember this year. But because it lacks an individual song, a North Star of sorts that is guiding and attracting all of the attention, I think it's a bad case for Song of the Summer, even if the summer we're discussing is Brat summer. Last song, last argument, and in a, she had to talk about this one type of situation, we had to talk about this one.
What's the password? I see dead people.
After a truly disastrous year for hip-hop in 2023, rap beef has been the meal of 2024 so far. Megan Thee Stallion and Nicki Minaj kicked it off. Quavo and Chris Brown have been desperately trying to get everyone to notice that they're throwing rocks at each other, but the big enchilada, the most critically acclaimed rap artist against the most popular rap artist, Kendrick Lamar and Drake. I think it's pretty unequivocally obvious that Kendrick Lamar won this beef, and yet I'm a little bit more sympathetic to Drake than most. I think there's an angle that you can look at songs like Family Matters and Push-Ups and see that they're solid outings. But much like Guppy Freestyle and Story of Adidon, Drake just happened to pick a generationally talented artist with a huge appetite for extremely personal rap beef as an opponent. And once again, despite a solid effort, he was blown out of the water.
Beat your ass and hide the Bible if God watching.
But Kendrick did something that, in a sense, Pusha T could never. He impugned a commercial appeal onto this beef that is arguably unheard of in the entire history of hip-hop beefs. And of course, Kendrick Lamar would do that. He spent the past decade plus being the shining figure of commercial success crossed with critical appeal. #1 hits like Humble going toe-to-toe with what almost everyone thinks is the album of the 2010s in their entirety, To Pimp a Butterfly. So of course, he's the one that can grab DJ Mustard and throw together a diss track that is also one of the catchiest rap songs I've heard this year.
They not like us. They not like us. They not like us.
And the great thing is, this isn't one of those diss songs where you have to know all of the details of a rapper's personal life, of industry affiliations. Kendrick is extremely obviously making this about Drake. He mentions Drake directly. He mentions albums like Certified Lover Boy just to call Drake a fucking pedophile. Do I think Drake is a pedophile? I don't think there's any compelling evidence for that, but do I sing that lyric when I hear it? You're goddamn right I do.
And Baka got a weird case. Why is he around? Certified lover boy, certified pedophile.
It's just a testament to something that only Kendrick Lamar could do, because there are some strange eccentricities to this song that so few rappers could pull off in a commercial setting. It just seems like we're all so used to Kendrick being so smart in his cleverness, in his wittiness, in his commercial and critical ambition, that this song was just wildfire. I live in Los Angeles and genuinely could not leave the house for months without hearing this thing playing out of a storefront, blasting out of a passing car. I could walk outside right now and in 2 blocks I'd probably hear it. I even had a summer-long recurring bit where every single time I went to the 7-Eleven near where I live, Not Like Us was playing. As far as I know, they're legally obligated to play it every other song. I think you can make a pretty significant cultural argument to say that Not Like Us is the song of the summer, especially if Drake's career never reaches the peaks it had been in for the past 5 years, as you can look at this as a pretty signifying moment in, if not the full-on destruction, at least the beginning of a decline for the biggest artist in music. And yet it was brought on by a track that is not heady, does not require genius lyrics or intimate knowledge of Drake's OVO label and contemporaries or affiliations. Anyone can listen to this song. It is plainly obvious what is going on, and yet it is so infectious, so hooky, and so fun that it's fucking irresistible. I think that between Not Like Us's commercial appeal, cultural significance, and sheer quality, that this kind of is the song of the summer, though I can see and hear some other arguments. You'd have a pretty tough time convincing me that actually, at the end of the day, it should be anything other than this. So those are my arguments, but feel free to pull up in the comments and tell me what you think the song of the summer is. If it's a track from Magdalena Bay, if it's a Clairo song, if it's, I don't know, Glass Animals? No, I can't bring that back. The Glass Animals beef is over. And frankly, if you've heard their new album, you'll know that I won. And as always, I'll be back soon with more videos. Kisses. Mwah. Have a good, cold, relaxing autumn for me.